Welcome to another edition of Believe in Giants. Believe, believe, believe. Bob Papa, two-time Super Bowl champion Carl Banks. Tell a friend, tell a friend, tell a friend. Normally we say that at the end. We're saying that at the beginning as well because this has been a fun journey. This is our final game preview version because unfortunately the Giants don't have any more games after this.
That might be fortunate.
Yeah, that's a good point by you. I think, they want to go out there and get a win on Sunday and then call it a day and regroup, as they like to say. Got a promo code I'm going to give for you later. I'm going to explain why. But Bet Online, it's where the game starts. It's the fastest, easiest way to bet on all of your favorite sports. I'm going to offer you a 50% off. I'll give you the code in a little bit. Carl, the Washington football team comes to town on Sunday. They have not swept the Giants since 2011, which is ironic because we have spent this entire year, because the year has gone poorly for the Giants, but this was the 10-year celebration of Super Bowl 46. They had the whole team gathered at MetLife Stadium earlier this year. You had the Eli Manning retirement. We've done a lot of things this year geared toward remembering 2011. The Giants would prefer to not remember 2011 when it comes to Washington and not get swept by them.
Yeah, so that was kind of the beginning of the bad season for the Giants. You have that one in the bag, and it kind of foretold how things could go when you don't pay attention to detail. So
for our listeners, because they might not be following us right now, but the Giants lost at home to Denver, got beaten convincingly, as we would say in the boxing world, pillar to post. Denver won the game, deserved to win. Then on a short week, the Giants go down to Washington. It's just Thursday night football, and they're playing the Washington football team. That's the game that Dustin Hopkins missed a 48-yard field goal at the gun, but Dexter Lawrence jumped offside or was in the neutral zone or whatever, although upon video replay, not really sure if it was a penalty, but I understand why they called it. And then they kicked the field goal 43 yards, and the Giants lost by one. They lost by 1 point, 30-29. And that seemed to set this whole season in an unravel mode.
Yeah, it was. I mean, when you look at that game and the what could have been, right? I don't think Darius Slayton ever recovered from dropping a wide open pass in that game that could have pretty much put it out of range for Washington. And then just the little things like that offsides penalty, or what they called as an offsides penalty, just kind of set, events, unfortunate events in motion for the whole year. And so here we are. You can point to every game where there's some little thing that didn't happen, right? Some little thing that they didn't do. Go.
Can I go back to that game for a second?
Yeah.
Because it's going to tie into what the point is you're going to make right now. So in that game, that's the game that, if you remember, Nick Gates got moved to left guard to start the game.
Yes.
And that was the game that Billy Price started center. So that's the game Nick Gates got hurt, suffered, a severe injury. That's also, remember, Tony's the only skill position guy that's not playing in the game. So the Giants pretty much have their full complement of guys. And the play you're referring to, because Slayton had a wonderful 33-yard touchdown catch in that game. But the play you're referring to is the Giants are winning in the football game 23-20. It's midway through the fourth quarter. And on a 3rd and 1, Eli Penny runs for 2 yards. So the Giants have it 1st and 10 at the Washington 43. There's 6:25 to go in the game. Now remember, they're up by 3 at this point. Jason Garrett dials up play action pass because they had run the ball leading up to this. And Darius Slayton's open over the middle. Deep ball. Now, he doesn't catch it. He doesn't dive for it. It goes off his fingertips, through his hands. And in Giants fashion, that was the one shot, right?
Mm-hmm.
So they get the ball to the Washington 38-yard line. Solder and Andrew Thomas get back-to-back false starts. Next thing you know, Gano's kicking a 55-yard field goal to go up 26-20. And then Washington comes back, and they go 75 yards in 2 plays. That was the McKissick 56-yard catch down the right sideline.
Yep.
And then, of course, the other thing that we forget about in that game is the Giants are trailing by 1. And they get the ball back because Heineke gets intercepted with 2:22 to go. Bradbury gets the pick. And the Giants start 1st and 10 at the Washington 20 with 2:16 to go in the game. They do nothing offensively. They gain 3 yards. They only use 11 seconds. And Gano kicks a 35-yard field goal to give the Giants the lead, which takes us to the 2-minute warning.
Yeah.
So either Slayton catches the ball, game's kind of over, they go up 2 scores. If they get a first down there and take it inside the 2-minute warning, now they can bleed clock, and kick the go-ahead field goal with less time on the clock. So, and then there's
Right.
It's like the season in a microcosm. Red zone failure, inability to manage the clock and move the ball properly, missed opportunities, mental mistakes. Everything was wrapped up in the last 6:25 of that game.
Yeah, so the 6:25 of that game tells the story of the Giants season. Now, they've gotten to it a lot of different ways, but one of those things always appears in the Giants' losses. Missed opportunities, bad decisions, poor red zone play, which has appeared in every game this season. Just the inability to score points instead of field goals. And thank God they got this kicker who's kept them in a few games. But just being in the red zone and not being able to get scores is the telling or the tell of this season. So here we are. No love lost between these two teams. I'm sure with all of the talking that the head coach has done this week, some they felt directed or they kind of steered the comments about players fighting towards the Washington, what happened in Washington a few weeks ago. So,
and Joe Judge said he was not referring to that, but of course, Ron Rivera took it and ran with it with his own team.
Of course he did. Of course he did. It's not like it didn't happen, but the thing here is when it comes to a coach at this time of the year, and you've had the season that you've had, and the Sharks and the Buzzards and the Wolves and the Hyenas and the Coyotes and the Jackals are all trying to get a piece of your carcass, there will be no great answers. And they will ask a question in search of a bad answer. And the head coach has obliged, and it has not shown him in a great light, even though you don't have a lot to kind of lean on. You just got to keep your head down, try to, stop the bleeding as much as possible and get to the off season. And, this is something that people will learn, not just in this market, but when you're under siege, you got to be careful how you answer, and you got to be careful how long you answer, because they walk you into things. And this is what this is the press's job. So I'm not going to bash the press. They're going to ask questions because they need content. This is the best time to get it when a coach is under siege or when a player is under siege. This is when they get it. This is when they get the juicy stuff. And then they tell you, clean up on aisle 7. because now you're left with trying to defend something you said earlier in the week or on a Sunday when less is more, especially when you continue to lose. And you gotta know that they're gonna walk you into something. It's not their fault. They're just gonna keep asking and keep asking, and then they're gonna ask it a different way. Some point you say, hey, look, didn't go well. We'll get it next week. And just keep it moving, short and sweet, and get out of there. Because once you start to elaborate, they see that gate swing open, and the words are going to start coming out of your mouth that you're going to be like, well, I'm just speaking from my heart and I'm just answering. But you give them enough, they can just send it in different directions. Well, was he talking about Washington? We're not going to say he was, but sure sounded like it. And that's how it goes. So Rivera has, he's trying to get his team going in the right direction. They've had some injuries, but they always can point their arrow at the Giants as the enemy and see if they could just, finish the job, if you will. So they got their issues there, but this is their game to kind of show that they want to end the season on a high note as well. But the Giants, this is a pride game. I don't know where the team stands with the head coach, so he certainly needs to have a good showing, even in a loss. Let me just say this. I doubt if there's 100% confidence that he's the guy. I think they want it to be the guy. I think he needs to show Sunday, not just him, but his coaching staff and his players, that he's the right guy to head them into the next season. Can't have a showing like you had last week. You got to show that that you kind of know what you need to do.
Man, and I mean, that's going to be an interesting order too, because I mean, Glennon suffered the injury to his left wrist or whatever. So Fromm might be the starter. If Fromm gets banged up, your Michigan State guy, Lewerke, would go.
Well, here's one thing I know about Lewerke. He can get the ball down the field. It might not be to the right person, but if they want to call a go route, he can get it as far as they can run it.
Well, let me tell you something. One of the things that Washington's done this year on the little note sheet, they give up a lot of big plays. They've given up 10 pass plays of over 40 yards this year, 19 over 30. So they have been beaten on deep balls.
Well, Lewerke can throw it. That's one thing he can do. He's got a live arm. But so all of that said, that's not an excuse for a team that is beleaguered and under siege. Figure out a way to make it work. Know what you have available to you. Craft as many plays as you have to protect against being exposed, meaning you don't want to put Fromm in obvious passing situations. You want to be able to pass on your terms. And to be able to pass on your terms means you got to run the football. Doesn't matter if the other team knows you're going to run it, you still got to run it. They proved in Chicago that even when they put 8 and 9 in the box, they had some success. It's when you go with these empty formations is when you are self-mutilating. You literally self-mutilate when you go into these spread formations when you can't protect and quarterbacks can't make great decisions. Now, Fromm, I don't trust, even if you predetermined his read, that he will make a great decision under duress. He just hasn't had enough reps as a pro quarterback. So you want to always make sure that you're doing things on your terms. It's just like when they opened the game in Chicago in an empty formation, and they say, well, we got the look that we were expecting, but you didn't get the result that you were expecting because too many other things broke down. But you knew that coming in, or you should have known that coming in, that we can't protect and the quarterback can't make great decisions. Even though you got the look that you were expecting.
Doesn't matter.
Look, Chicago got the look they were expecting too.
Yeah. No
Well,
one's
no,
going
they
to
got-
block this guy.
They got an unexpected surprise. You mean to tell me they're going to do this and let us just run to their quarterback? So
Who's not going to get the ball out quick for some reason, knowing
Right.
that there's a guy coming hot.
yeah. So and because it's so predictable offensively, they said if they go to this is what we're going to go to automatically. We're going to mug the A gap and send a guy off the edge. They won't get it. So yeah, so you got a backup quarterback. You got two healthy running backs. Just line up and play as best you can on your terms. That means utilizing the personnel in the best way that they can contribute. And I think running the football is your best way.
Yeah, and they're going to have to be good. They're going to have to execute, and they're going to have to also be mindful of the fact that it ain't always going to be perfect, because Washington
Right.
is good against the run. I mean, they're 8th
Mhm.
in the league against the run, and they got a guy on the inside that's going to the Pro Bowl, Jonathan Allen, who's been a beast on the inside. So this is going to be like one of those, you can't get deterred by some failure.
Well, no, and see, that was the one positive that I saw in that Monday night game. They had some losses. They didn't have all success, but they were effective running the football. They got them blocked up in some schemes. Sometimes they didn't. You know, the other guys get paid too, but they were effective enough to impact the game and to be able to do some other things. Just think about the play action pass that Darius Slayton dropped. It was off run action. They got exactly what they wanted because they ran it off an effective run play that Washington felt that they had to commit to stop. And he's running wide open, and you know what the story is. So it's not an excuse, and I don't think they're looking for one, but don't fall back on it and say you didn't have enough when the game is over with. You better fight this game like you want to win. You want to come in this game with a plan. You don't want to have to say, I didn't have enough to win. You want everybody else to look at your plan and say, boy, they had a great plan. They just didn't have enough to win. That's what you want. You can't do bizarre things that are contrary to winning a football game, given the personnel you have. You've got to have a concise plan. You better make sure every detail is taken care of. Better make sure your special teams guy, if he's expecting a touchback, that he follows that ball into the end zone. All of these little things, because they want to bring you back. Don't do anything contrary to that. Give them a reason to feel, even though it's not going to be popular with a lot of people, make them feel like, you know what, I feel better just the way he coached this game, the way they approached this, the way the players played. And I'm not saying, go down losing. You can win the game. There's always a path to victory. Injuries occur on both sides of the field. You don't know what their players' mentality is either. You just go out and control what you can control. That's how you call the plays, how your players play the plays, and how they execute.
Right. And listen, I know there's a segment of fans that are watching this right now or listening to us that are all about the draft position. And I've already heard it before. Watch us go win this game and it's going to hurt our draft position, and it's going to cost us a chance to get a fantastic player. And I'm going to go back to my point again. They have been drafting ridiculously high for the better part of the last 10 years. Ridiculously high for the most part, and especially in the last 3 and 4 years. They've been drafted inside the top 10. What has that gotten you? So it's not, if they fall back a spot or two, and if the Bears were to win their game and fall back a spot or two, it doesn't matter.
Right.
It matters who's picking the players and the players that you pick. Because again, I'll go back to Odell, who was a game-changing, unbelievably talented guy who, you know, he's had his issues, but now he's helping the Rams or whatever. He wasn't taken in the top 10. I mean, if you did that draft again and redrafted, Odell Beckham Jr. is not going where the Giants picked him. So it's, you've got to be able to pick good players. And I don't care about the spot here and there. And Carl, you know, you mentioned it. Go out and win the game, play well, show organization, show it to be a tight operation. And then, hey, listen, if the chips fall the wrong way because Washington has a better team at this point in time, well, so be it. I mean, Heineke tuned him up for 336 the first time they played.
Yeah.
It was his first start against them. They got Terry McLaurin, who in his 4 career games against the Giants has gone over 100 yards twice. So they have some good players, and they got good players on defense.
Yeah, very good players on defense. And here's what I suspect it's going to be. They've got 3 players. They've got a running back who can catch and run. They've got McLaurin, who will be the best all-around receiver that this defensive backfield will see, that they've seen this year. He may not be the best receiver in the game, but he's a great route runner. He competes like hell for the ball. Good enough speed, better than average speed. Like, he's not the fastest receiver in the world, but he can get open and he can catch the ball. So this guy challenges your defensive backs all the way to the ground. Like, if there's a 50-50 ball, you better make sure by the time he hits the ground that the ball's out first, because he will come down with it. And they got a tight end that the Giants often forget about when they focus so much on taking away the receiver and or the back. And the tight end is the guy who just all of a sudden pops up in the game and catches 6 or 7 balls because you just didn't pay attention to them and they're on their way. So you don't want to have to, if you're defensive coordinator Patrick Graham, you don't want to have to make that in-game adjustment as you go. You want to have that taken care of before you enter the game, that knowing this guy's a threat, and as soon as you start to take away a few things, he's going to be the guy they go to.
I wonder if Jake Fromm can run it all. The reason why I asked you that question is because I'm looking at these notes that I did. Washington's given up 7 runs this year of 20 or more yards. And of those 7,
quarterbacks,
4 have been by quarterbacks. Daniel Jones tuned him up for 46. Cam Newton for 24. Jalen Hurts for 22. And Mitchell Trubisky for 22.
Well,
Fromm
may have to run anyway, but
I'm kind of joking.
They
maybe running for his life at times.
Yeah, but just coming to this game expecting to win it as players. You know you're good enough. You're punching in your weight class. Let's just say that, right? Coaches, give them a winning plan. And like I said, if Giants management are leaning towards bringing you back as a coach, don't leave any more doubt than exist. What I'm saying is, if they were like, I was gonna do it, but it looked like shit, and I just can't. I can't see myself, going there. What you want to do is make them look at all the other things that could be if you had a complement of what you needed. Saying, okay, they competed on third down, they did better in the red area, the organization was fine, the play calling, I see why they made this call, I see why they made that call, and they walk away and they say, okay, well, we got some work to do. If we gave him a little more, we win this game, or hey, we win this game by more if he had a full complement of X, Y, and Z. But don't give us what you gave in Chicago. That's, players and coaches. You can't do that and expect, well, we'll get them next year, because there won't be a next year. I mean, I listen, the longer this season plays out, the less support they're getting. So he's got to finish this one on a strong note. The players have got to finish this on a strong note, because they like their coach. They got to go out and show it. And the coach has got to give them a plan, both sides of the ball, all three sides of the ball, I should say, special teams as well, and go out and execute. You're at home also. That makes it tougher too, meaning if you stink it up at home, that's not going to go over well either.
No, I mean, the good news that they have is, despite the fact that Washington's been around for 89 years, they don't have the greatest traveling fan base. I don't think they really ever did.
That's not the fan base they got to worry about.
No, but I mean, having people in the building,
right?
Like, listen, the building is going to be half full anyway.
And it's going to be all angry people.
Right. But what you're probably not going to have, as opposed to if you were playing the Eagles or the Cowboys or some of these other teams, you're not going to have the place flooded with fans of the other team.
Yeah.
Washington fans have never been great travelers. Look, we'll get into a dissection next week. I'm looking at some notes here, like, the Giants are dead last in the last two seasons in so many offensive categories. But I'm going to tell you what I have a wish list for Sunday. Because the Giants in Washington over the last 5 years are a combined 52 and 108. They got two of the worst. Neither team has had a winning season since 2016.
Mm-hmm.
And Washington was 8-7-1 that year. Then that was the year the Giants went to the playoffs. So here's my one wish list, Carl. I'd like to see one more touchdown, because the Giants have had one touchdown in their last 35 offensive possessions.
Oh my God.
Spanning 3 games. The only touchdown they've scored in the last 3 games was at the end of the Philadelphia game in Philadelphia. Ingram caught a 9-yard touchdown pass, to make it 34-10. And here's the other thing I want to see. I want to see the Giants score points, any points at this point, in the last 2 minutes of the first half.
Yeah.
They have been outscored 76-0, including last week's 8-point debacle over the last 61 seconds. So since 1970, there's only been one team that's been ever shut out in the last 2 minutes of the first half. And that was the Baltimore Colts in 1972. Did not score any points in the last 2 minutes of the first half. Now, remember, that was a 14-game schedule. So the Giants have already played 16 games. And no team has ever been outscored by 76 or more points in the final 2 minutes of the first half. I don't know if the Giants can change that number, but
they can move it in the right direction by scoring something.
Could they at least win the last 2 minutes of the first half? I don't care if it's 3-0. Just to me, that's one of the most mind-boggling stats of this year I think I've ever seen.
Yeah. Just go out, play with some pride, players. And again, just from a coaching standpoint, convince us that you really know, because you can talk about it, but show us on game day that you really know, and that you are the guy that can get this thing right. I think they want to feel that way. And the thing about sports and fandom and people that watch this game, it's a hope floats game. The emotion is from week to week. The rage lasts for 7 days until kickoff, right? And then you're going to have a reason to be mad or happy. And this is your last chance to make a first impression. So you can't, if they come in angry and they leave saying, you know what, they played much better today, but I'm still pissed they didn't play this way for the last 16 games. But at least they say they played well today, and I think this guy finally got the message. It's just it took too long to do that. Fans and fandom is an emotional roller coaster. You want to send them away on a high note and feel better, because everybody wants to feel better about this. Everybody wants to be great, feel great about their decisions. And so players and coaches, give the people what they want. Give them something to feel good about, even for one weekend.
BetOnline remains your number one spot for all basketball, football action this season. Vegas casino games, boxing, NHL, UFC. It's all right there for you. So if you go to the new updated desktop site or the mobile website and you sign up today, we're going to give you a 50% welcome bonus. All you have to do is type in the promo code BELIEVE, BLEAV. BetOnline, the fastest, easiest way to bet on all of your favorite sports. So, Carl, just final thought that I have is, I mentioned I got a little wish list for Sunday. Wish list number one is obviously to see the team go out and win. Wish list number two is to please score at least a point, 2 points, 3 points, get a safety, and just not be shut out for the entire first half of a 17-game schedule in the last 2 minutes. I mentioned touchdowns, one in the last 35 drives, one in the last 3 games, don't cut it. And then some little things I'm looking for. I'm looking for Andrew Thomas to continue to play well. And just for me personally, to build upon something that will be a constant for next year, like something that you're going to just feel really good about.
Mm-hmm.
And if he has like a bad preseason game, we don't have to have people going bat bleep crazy. Right. So I want to see him continue to progress, because I think he's getting better and better each week. And by the way, he's also playing hobbled. I want to see Xavier McKinney continue to play like Xavier McKinney. You and I took a look at some of his stuff that's going to air on the Giants media platforms, the inside the film rooms that we do. I want to see him finish the season strongly. He's somebody I'm excited about. I'm excited about Azeez Ojulari. Can he get 2 sacks in the game and maybe get to double digits? That would be nice for his rookie season. Improvement there from him. I'm excited to see Jalen Smith play more in this defense, and just to see what he's got and see if, maybe there's something there. Quincy Roche, stuff like that. There's the guys that are going to have to be part of this foundation moving forward, one way or another, whether it's a frontline player or somebody that in sub packages, or if somebody goes down, that you're going to be able to put in there and they're going to be able to perform and keep the train moving in the right direction.
That's fair. For me, I'm looking for one thing, And it's a little different, Bob, for me, because I played, and there's an expectation, right? And then there's a reality. And anybody that's connected with this team emotionally, that's been a part of winning. Right now, the only thing I need is show me a plan and play with some fucking pride. That'll get you this victory. Give me a plan and play with some fucking pride. I don't care what your personnel situation looks like on paper,
because it don't look good.
We see it every week. Teams have started the year without an entire defensive backfield and continue to figure out how to win. Show me a plan and play with some fucking pride. That's it for me. All the other stuff, yep, I'm with you on that. I want to see Saquon Barkley continue. I want to see Lorenzo Carter continue because they could lead by example. But right now, it's more painful for me to see this and the emotions that I have to deal with, having been part of some of the most successful years in this franchise and being part of understanding what it takes. Give them a plan, coach. Coach with pride. Players play with fucking pride. You win this game. We feel better about you.
Yeah, and remember something too, to your point about this game. You're in the sandbox with another kid your size, age, and weight.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, Washington is 6-10. They're not coming in at 10-6.
Mm-hmm.
And you're saying, well, I mean, we're down all this personnel and they're down less personnel than we are. Whatever. They're still a 6-10 team.
Yeah.
So you're 100% right, Carl. I mean, I think that's what was so devastating psychologically to you, to me, and to a lot of the fan base from last week was, geez, Louise. I mean, this is the Bears.
Yeah.
I mean, listen, I get it. Everybody wants to beat the Cowboys. There's a division rival or whatever. But if you made a trade for most of the people that the Giants put on the field and the Cowboys put on the field that day, and you were trading out players, you'd be hard pressed to find many of the guys that started for the Giants that day against Dallas that you would take over a Dallas player.
Right.
But now you're in a sandbox playing with a kid the same age as you, the same size as you for the most part. So there's no excuse to not be able to function and be a little bit crisper, despite the fact that you've got these injuries and all this other stuff.
Well, listen,
I think that's the key point here that you're making.
Yeah. And look, you just said, but it was the Chicago Bears. And this is what they should be saying, but it was the New York Giants. How did they come in here? How did we not win that game? Well, you're punching in your weight class, like you said. Just give me a plan and play with some pride, and the rest of it will take care of itself. Because the classic example, the Chicago game, based on decisions, you got yourself in a hole fast, and you couldn't get out.
Correct. And that goes to plan, because you put yourself in high risk situations right out of the gate against someone in your weight class that you allowed them to take an upper hand. And once you fell behind by 7 and then 14, everybody and their brother knows you're not climbing out of that.
Yeah.
So a good plan can keep this game in position. You got anything else to get off your chest here?
Nah, just tell a friend to tell a friend. Tune in. We ain't done. We just done with the season, but we got a lot more that we want to talk about on the Papa Banks Pod throughout the offseason.
Well, yeah, we
stay
got
tuned.
we gotta knock one out probably on Monday at some point. We're gonna have to do one with the season recap, and
Mhm.
we'll see what kind of changes are made. Changes are inevitably coming.
Yeah.
So there's going to be a lot of stuff, especially early in the week, that we're going to have to get to. So, all right, tell a friend to tell a friend. Any big plans this weekend? Since it's a home game.
I don't want to be miserable. Let me walk out of the stadium and just feel better about what I saw. I don't want to be disgusted again. So, last Sunday was disgusting. I felt disgusted. This Sunday, give me something. Just give me something. I got no plans. Got no plans.
Yeah. Well, I mean, with stuff spiking and everything, you're like a little nervous to do anything.
Yeah.
Who knows? Anyway, tell a friend to tell a friend. Put in the promo code BELIEVE, BLEAV. You'll get a 50% welcome discount at Bet Online. And as we always say, tell a friend to tell a friend. All right, everybody, enjoy the game. For Carl Banks, I'm Bob Papa. Believe in Giants.